Welcome to this broadcast of our virtual Charter Commission meeting. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota statutes, section 13D.021, due to the declared local health pandemic. I'm Barry Clegg. I'm the chair of the Charter Commission. I will now call this meeting to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Abbott.
Here.
Commissioner Cohen.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
Commissioner Ginder.
Present.
Commissioner Jerome Isaacson.
Here.
Commissioner Kozak.
Here.
Commissioner Lickness.
Here.
Commissioner Metke.
Here.
Commissioner Newborn. Commissioner Perry.
Here.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Here.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Here.
Commissioner Schwarzkopf.
Present.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Newborn. Chair Clegg.
Here.
There are 14 present and 1 absent.
Very well, we have a quorum. We will now proceed to our agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's Legislative Information Management System, which is available at lims.gov. Commissioners, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Before we adopt the agenda, I will propose that we put some limits on tonight's public hearing. We have at least 180 people or so who've signed up to speak. In order to make sure we hear from as many people as possible, I suggest we do as we did last week and limit tonight's public hearing to 1 minute per speaker and limit the length of the public testimony to 2 hours. I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda with those additional parameters I just outlined.
Motion Sandberg.
Second, Metche.
It's been moved and seconded. Will the clerk please, is there any discussion? Sorry. Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Abbott.
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder.
Aye.
Commissioner Jerome Isaacson.
Aye.
Commissioner Kozak.
Aye.
Commissioner Lickness.
Aye.
Commissioner Metke.
Aye.
Commissioner Newborn. Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Schwarzkopf.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Newborn. Chair Clegg.
Aye.
There are 14 ayes and 1 absent.
And that motion carries. Next is the acceptance of the minutes from the July 15th meeting. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes, please?
So moved, Abbott.
Is there a second?
Second, Metche.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Abbott.
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen.
Aye.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder.
Aye.
Commissioner Jerome Isaacson.
Aye.
Commissioner Kozak.
Aye.
Commissioner Lickness.
Aye.
Commissioner Metke.
Aye.
Commissioner Newborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Schwarzkopf.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Chair Clegg.
Aye.
There are 15 ayes.
That motion carries and the minutes are approved. Next is the chair's report, and I don't have anything to report other than is already contained in the agenda for this meeting. So we'll skip right to the main item on our agenda tonight, which is a public hearing on the City Council's proposed charter amendment related to community safety and violence prevention. First, a note to commissioners. Tonight is not a night for our speeches or our opinions. We'll have a chance to discuss those in the coming weeks. Tonight is a chance to hear from the public. So if you have a technical issue or need to get somebody's attention, please use the chat and let the public testify to us tonight. As I said before, around 180 people have signed up tonight. So we'll have some ground rules to ensure that we are able to hear from as many people as possible. First, I've asked the clerk's office to organize the speakers such that the people who will be first on the agenda are the people who signed in for last week's meeting but didn't get a chance to testify because we didn't get to them. The second group of people on the list will be people who signed up for tonight's agenda to speak tonight, but have not spoken before. And the third group will be those that have spoken before. You can still speak tonight, but you'll be last on the list. Each speaker will have 1 minute, which will be managed by the clerk. If any speaker exceeds their 1 minute limit, I will kindly let you know that your time is up and we'll move on to the next speaker. I'll also ask those that are testifying tonight to avoid repetition in your comments. We want to maximize the number of people we hear from. If you are in support of comments that have already been made by somebody else but have nothing new to add, it's perfectly fine to say you support this or that, or you support or oppose the proposed amendment. I do have a request for those that have called in to tonight's meeting. To help our staff manage the hundreds of people that would like to speak, we encourage everyone who is not waiting to speak to leave the call and to monitor the meeting either online or on TV. I will remind you that the meeting can be watched on Comcast channels 14 or 799, CenturyLink channels 8001 or 8501. It is also live streamed on the city's website at minneapolismn.gov/counciltv or from the city's YouTube channel at youtube.com/City of Minneapolis. For those who do plan to speak, I encourage you to leave the call after you've completed your comments and to monitor the remainder of the meeting via one of the other methods. You can also submit written comments to councilcomment@minneapolismn.gov. Again, that's councilcomment@minneapolismn.gov. We do read every one of those. These comments will also be incorporated into the record. I'll now open the public hearing to receive public comment on the City Council's proposed amendment relating to community safety and violence prevention. Staff will call on speakers by name from the order of the speakers list that have been shared to all speakers who have signed up. When you hear your name called, please press *6 to unmute your phone. Reminder, please press *6 to unmute your phone. Wait a moment for a message that says you're unmuted and then identify yourself before making your comments. Also, please tell us what neighborhood you're from or what part of the city you are from. If you are representing an organization, please let us know that as well. We will begin. Please go ahead and call the first speaker.
The first speaker is Quinn Scott. Quinn Scott, press *6.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yes, my name is Quinn Scott, and I'm representing Minneapolis and BBC and Isaiah. We demand that the Charter Commission change the language in the Charter by August 5th. Bob Crow himself has had 19 misconduct cases against him by the current chief and others for $740,000, which the city had to pay out of our pockets. He was described also by the former mayor as cancer, toxic, and a racist, wore white power badges. Jean Harto described him as disgraceful. The Minneapolis Department, which she described, has systemic racism flowing through its veins. Now, the Charter Commission could have solved this problem over 2 years ago. Instead, they neglected, turned their heads away, and now the city of Minneapolis suffered billions and billions of dollars. Now the Charter Commission, which is predominantly made up of 15 white people, now says they know what's best for more than 430,000 people. That's not true. That's a form of disregard, disrespect, and they're standing in the way of our way of voting.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Sarah Cheetah. Sarah Cheetah. Press *6 to unmute.
Thank you. My name is Sara Cheetah, and I live in Ward 8 and currently serve as the Vice Chair of the Kingfield Neighborhood Association. Recently, our Board of Directors passed the following resolution, which in summary asks the Charter Commission to please allow the people of Minneapolis to vote in November on the amendment forwarded by the City Council. The resolution states, whereas the Kingfield Neighborhood Association sees an urgent need for transformational change to community safety and policing in the city, whereas the current city charter does not allow for that change in accountability, whereas the community should be given the opportunity to voice their opinion on this change and directly engage with the question of policing and safety, whereas the need and responsibility to take bold action now is essential. We call on the Charter Commission to let the people of Minneapolis vote on a meaningful city charter amendment. This resolution passed our board 11-2. Speaking as the Vice Chair, this resolution aligns with our mission to support direct community participation. Simply changing the charter will not on its own bring about the transformational change we know we need.
Thank you.
This is one step, and there's a lot of work to be done. Please let us do the work and let us vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Sarah Harper. Sara Harper. Press *6 and make your comment.
My name is Sara Harper, and I live in Powderhorn. Minneapolis deserves so much more than our current model of public safety. The police have failed us, and we uphold a system that victimizes the most marginalized group in our city. And I understand your desire to address this matter carefully and with more time to work out the details, but this is an exceptional moment. The citizens of Minneapolis have been calling for serious changes to public safety for decades, and the size of the recent demonstrations have created a clear mandate for immediate action. The City Council has outlined a plan that would take the next year to gather input and decide which changes need to be made, but that process can't begin in earnest until the language of the charter is changed to allow flexibility, and your alternative proposal does not. We need to put the City Council's amendment on the ballot this year in order to begin that work and make meaningful change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next caller is Laurie Johnson. Laurie Johnson. Press *6 to unmute.
Let's go on to the next speaker then.
The next caller is Faith Vang. Faith Vang. Press *6.
And let's wait about 10 seconds for each speaker, and if they don't come on the line, we'll move on to the next speaker. Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Bill Ulsbridge. Bill Ulsbridge.
Hello. First of all, I'd just like to say that the email that was sent today has the incorrect phone number to call into this meeting, and it's someone's cell phone number, and they're having a bad time. My name is Bill Ulsbridge. I'm a resident of Ward 2. I strongly support the unanimous City Council decision to put this on the ballot this year in this election, and I urge you to do the same. There's an expedited process that exists and that the City Council has chosen to use. It is not the best process, but it is an expedited process that does exist in the Charter Commission's documents, and it says that it can be used in extraordinary circumstances. And if these are not extraordinary circumstances, I would just love to hear an argument about how they are not. This is clearly the extraordinary circumstances that warrant the expedited process. I appreciate the commission's work, but if you are to work your process in such a way that stops me from voting, I will consider that to be unacceptable,
Thank you.
illegitimate, and unethical on your part.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
The next caller is Tim Hart. Tim Hart.
Hello, my name is Tim Hart. I live in Ward 12. I'd like to reiterate what Bill said. The number in the email was not the correct one. That said, I would like to encourage the commission to approve the proposed council amendment as is and to approve it in time for the 2020 ballot. I completely acknowledge the commission is being asked to move quicker than it would normally, but I feel in this instance an expedited timeline is a benefit. As indicated by the comments during this meeting, residents in the city are engaged now and in the mood and mindset to truly evaluate what they want from the future of public safety in Minneapolis. This is a valid question for the ballot, and any loss of the ability for this commission to evaluate the language will be more than made up for by the consideration and attention given to this question through the democratic process over the next few months, and by the opportunity for voters to determine the future they want come November. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Can I ask the clerk to take a look at the email that went out today? If there was a wrong number, can we correct it and send out a follow-up email? May be too late for some, but others may be checking their email and get the right number. Thank you.
You call the people, I'll fix it.
Next speaker, please.
Bailey.
Call which ones? I mean 4 and 5.
The next caller is Nikki Bailey. Nikki Bailey, press *6.
Hi.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Thank you. My name is Nikki Bailey, and I am one of the lead organizers with BBCC. And I am on this call right now to ask the parties to be to please allow that charter to be on the ballot. I know that there have been provisions made and you all are wanting us to allow you the opportunity to do some other things, but we have given you the time needed and you did not do so. You have failed us. We need this charter on the on the ballot. Time is up. We need it done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. I believe the next speaker is James Pritchard.
Hello, Commissioners. This is why, in an age of digital automation, when every organization is learning to operate with fewer people, would staffing numbers for a specific department be enshrined in the charter? The answer is the political power of the MPD. That power is why we send hundreds of millions of dollars from our city to the suburbs in the form of MPD salaries. That power has been broken by thousands of residents of this city who have marched on this demand. Abolish MPD. Our well-coiffed mayor is not up to this challenge and has spelled the end of his civil service to our city. Don't make his mistake. Let the people vote. Stop making excuses. Step up to the plate. Let the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Katie Jones.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. My name is Katie Jones, and I live in Lowry Hill East.
I'd like to invite you back to 1920s Tennessee, actually. At this point, one more state was needed to ratify the 19th Amendment for women's suffrage. Tennessee was not a state known of progress, but on the day of the vote, the suffragists counted their supporters and were dismayed. They were short. In council chambers, when the roll call began, the suffragists were still without hope. One 24-year-old legislator, Harry Byrne, was soon to speak, and he was very likely a nay vote. But he had in his paper a hand that would change history. A letter that was a sign received from his mother that day had said, "Hurrah and vote for suffrage, don't keep them in doubt." It is written that he struggled with this, but with letter in hand, when his name was called, he voted aye, shocking the room and giving the women the voting franchise. Just as Harry Byrne received this letter from his mother and took it as a sign, I hope you take George Floyd's murder and this amendment that has been thoughtfully crafted by the council as a sign. It is a sign that we need change. It is a sign that we need a time to be brave. It is a sign for us to move forward. I also invite you to look at the short slide deck that I have about the history of paramedics that shows another time in history when public safety responsibilities were removed from the police and given to differently and appropriately skilled professionals. So please, I invite you to be a part of history and move the amendment forward as written. Thank you.
And the next speaker is Emanuel Eggbatur.
Can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Emanuel Eggbatur, and I'm with Barbershops and Black Congregation Cooperative of Isaiah, and I'm also a resident of South Minneapolis, the Civil Place neighborhood. So I've heard language from one of you stating that you don't want to rush. Okay, you guys don't want to rush this process, but that's a convenient statement to make when all the people being killed does not look like you. See, the window of opportunity is very small, and I need you to please do your job. Please push this amendment through. We need to see this on the ballots, okay? We as residents of Minneapolis and members of the disenfranchised communities are tired of white, disconnected people making decisions for us. People who don't live in our neighborhood, people who don't go through what we go through, people who don't endure all the daily struggles that we endure. We don't want them to keep making decisions for us. Our voices hold value, and our right to vote should always be prioritized and encouraged. Put it on a ballot. I demand that we vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Carlton Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Carlton Crawford. I live in the Longfellow community and have lived in Minneapolis for 27 years. I'm here today to speak in opposition to the proposed charter. I understand the impulse to do something in response to killing of George Floyd and others, and to be seen by the public as making a change. But your obligation and that of the City Council is to not just do something, it is to put forward thoughtful, vetted policies where the pros and cons have been thought through and the nuances fully understood. I implore the Charter Commission to take the time needed to do the work that the City Council didn't bother to do and fully research the merits and issues. As vague as the proposal is, we already know that it would mark a radical change in the way we run our city. The killing of George Floyd has reopened familiar wounds in Minneapolis, and change is required. It would be a mistake, however, to rush a half-formed notion of reform to the voters in response to genuine grief, passion, and impatience. We don't need to just do something. We need to do the right thing. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your service to Minneapolis.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kessa Andrews.
Hi, this is Kessa. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. I just wanted to restate the correct number for the call for anyone watching is 612-276-6670. That's 612-276-6670. I live in the Lindale neighborhood, and I'm a leader with Isaiah. I support that this charter amendment be put on the ballot in November. I believe that changing the city charter is the crucial first step to allow any systemic change to happen. Furthermore, I strongly believe in a democracy where everyone has a voice. As many have already stated, our democratically elected city council already voted unanimously to put the city charter question on the ballot this November. And respectfully, this commission of 15 volunteers doesn't reflect the city of Minneapolis geographically, racially, or economically. I believe that the people of Minneapolis should be allowed to decide about policing and public safety in our own city. Please don't stand in the way of our right to a democratic decision. Please make your recommendation about the charter by August 5th. Thank you for your time, and please let us vote.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kathy Doty.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
First, I want to thank the Charter Commissioners for volunteering their time. This is a very difficult and complex issue, and your contribution of time, energy, and expertise is one of the things that makes Minneapolis work. I'm fully in favor of real and effective change for Minneapolis that will address current and past practices that have had disastrous impacts on my Black and brown neighbors. But because I'm so intent on supporting real and effective change, I ask you to resist the tremendous political pressure to rush in order to get something on the ballot. I fail to see why we must wait for a charter amendment to engage in honest discussions and to take action. A charter amendment is not a magic wand. Charter amendments, if needed, can come when we know more about how and whether such amendments will help us achieve our goals around addressing public safety concerns for all. I want to add that I agree with the comments made at the last public hearing by Nakima Levy-Pounds and Al Flowers, two important community leaders whose comments I feel are being largely ignored in this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Daphne Brown. Daphne Brown. Okay, the next speaker is Abby Frank Taylor. Abby Frank Taylor. The next speaker is Julia DeLuca.
My name is Julia DeLuca, and I'm a resident of the Como neighborhood. I just like to read. To call is 612-276-6670. I recently graduated from the University of Minnesota, and I'm with Isaiah. I urge the Charter Commission to let the people of Minneapolis decide how our city creates safety for our communities. Amidst the heartbreak and uprising surrounding the murder of George Floyd, we have seen our communities come together seeking accountability and justice. People power and community-led solutions are the path to justice. It would be unjust to not allow our community to vote on changing the charter this year. Black, brown, and Indigenous lives have been waiting for justice for hundreds of years. Justice cannot wait any longer. Charter Commission, regardless of your position on amending the Minneapolis Charter, it is crucial that you allow democracy to decide the fate of the charter this November. I urge you to make a recommendation by August 5th to put the amendment on the ballot so that the people of Minneapolis can all vote and have their voices heard. Thank you, and let us vote.
Thank you. Can I ask the clerk also to make a new background slide that people will see that will have the correct phone number on it?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'll work on that right now.
Thank you.
Hi, excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is Abby Frank Taylor. I just couldn't get unmuted. I was the last called.
Go ahead then. You have 1 minute.
Great, thank you. My name is Abby Frank Taylor, and I live in Whittier. I'm calling in support of the City Council's proposed charter amendment to create space to build a new model of safety here in Minneapolis. I was concerned watching the Commission's meeting a few weeks ago when it seemed that many of you were more focused on what the next steps are beyond this amendment, when really, as non-elected officials, you should solely be focused on moving the process forward to ensure the citizens can make our voices heard. I'm not asking the Charter Commission to redesign community safety. I'm asking the Charter Commission to do your job in this process by allowing the amendment to move forward to the voting citizens to decide. It was written and unanimously voted on by our elected officials on the City Council and informed by their constituents. Please do not stand in the way because you personally have questions and concerns. You'll be able to vote yourselves in November. We are hearing loud and clear that our Black and brown neighbors are not safe in Minneapolis as long as the MPD is still intact. You have a chance to show you are listening and make space for next steps. Do your job and give us a chance to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Angela Allen.
Hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. And I live in Ward 12. I am calling to support putting this amendment on the ballot for November. Minneapolis prides itself on being a very inclusive, progressive, democratic community, and yet we have huge racial disparities in education and healthcare, et cetera, and a public quote-unquote safety system that's not actually keeping people safe. And by putting this amendment on the ballot, this could get us one step closer to actually giving Minneapolis a chance to be the inclusive and welcoming city that it claims to be by allowing the people to decide what public safety looks like for them. Please put this amendment on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Merv Moorhead. Merv
Hello,
Moorhead.
my name is.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Merv Moorhead. I live in Ward 3. The killing.
We've lost you, Mr. Moorhead. Can you start over again?
How's that?
That's good.
The killing of George Floyd to reform the Minneapolis Police Department. However, I do not support the approach taken by an absolutely inept city council that doesn't even pretend to have a plan for how to keep the entire city of Minneapolis safe. I am supportive of Chief Arredondo, who has a much better understanding of the city and what it takes to increase the safety of all residents in Minneapolis. I would urge the Charter Commission to take the full time to review the proposal and force the City Council to work with Chief Arredondo to develop a comprehensive plan that can then be voted on by the city. Prominent leaders such as Al Flowers, Nikema Levy-Pounds, and Mother's Love also support this alternative approach. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Abdul Artan.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Abdul Artan. I had time in accepting the hearing. The number that went today was not the right number. I am a resident of Minneapolis, Northeast, a father of a number of children and a leader with the Muslim Coalition of Isaiah. As a Minneapolis resident, we all want to live in a safe neighborhood and police that is accountable to us. As a father, I'm worried for my sons that they will be target of the police because of their color of the skin. This has gone too far, and I'm in support of amending the charter. We really can't wait any longer. Black lives are in danger. We need you to do your job and send the recommendations as soon as possible before August 5, so we can finally see the light in the tunnel. The voice of Minneapolis residents deserve to be heard. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next speaker is Molly Liu.
Hi, this is Molly Liu in Ward 6.
Go ahead. Go ahead, we can hear you.
Sure. So I believe that we have a public safety obligation to abolish the police. The amendment is a first step in this direction, and so I urge the Charter Commission to allow the people of Minneapolis to vote this November. So many people have already spoken to the racism of the police. I speak from my own experience as a rape survivor and as a longtime hospital rape crisis advocate. If people ask if there aren't police who will protect survivors, but the police do not protect survivors. The police treat the survivor's body as merely a source of evidence, which I saw over and over again in the dehumanizing process of collecting rape kits. Though some officers were kind, the ones who were cruel were never disciplined, such as the one that I witnessed who mocked a survivor for her bruises, or the one who dismissed my own case as rough sex. Although the most violent consequences of the police are felt by Black people, all of us are harmed by police. Anyone can experience violence, and nearly all of us have broken laws, inconsequential as drinking before 21 or driving with broken taillights. We deserve a different world, and this world becomes closer if we abolish the police. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alia Bohr.
Hi.
Alia, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alia Bohr, and I live in Ward 7. And I'm calling to say that I'm in favor of having this amendment on the ballot this November. We all know about the formal voting that happens on ballots, which of course is why we're here tonight, but people vote in other ways too. In the wake of George Floyd's murder, we witnessed thousands of people voting with their bodies. However many callers there are tonight, there were thousands more in the streets living our votes in real time against a militarized police force. The uprisings were a concerted political demand from the public, a demand for no more cops. And your job in this moment is to recognize that whatever your personal opinions, the community wants to say on this issue. The uprisings are proof of how badly the people of Minneapolis want an alternative. So I'm just here to say that our city has already voted informally, publicly, and forcefully, and we're just now asking you to let us make this vote official in November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jean LaFontaine.
Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the I'm going to get on YouTube a bit.
Okay.
Can you?
Is this Jean LaFontaine?
I keep being muted.
We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Speak. All right. My name is Jean LaFontaine, and I am a member of Youth Push of the Barbershop and Black Congregation Cooperative of Isaiah. I'm here to talk to you all because, frankly, I'm tired. You know what? I'm tired. And I'm going to pose this question to y'all. I'm not tired from the sense of receiving a couple of angry emails or a couple of emails by people who feel like, you know, maybe the process is moving a little bit too quickly. I know in my bones that the process is moving way too slowly. I know in my bones when I get pulled over with a car full of me and my friends, of black and brown people, and fear just shoots down our bodies, I know that there is something terribly wrong with the Minneapolis Police Department. I am sick and tired of having this experience, and frankly, right now, y'all, as a body of officials who are appointed, who we didn't put into office, I want y'all to do your job. I want y'all to put this amendment on the ballot. As people have said before, we took to the streets to demand change. We voted with our feet. Now let us vote in November.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sarah Lentz.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sarah Lentz, and I live in Ward 5 of Minneapolis. I believe that I and my neighbors across the city have the right to vote for the future of public safety in Minneapolis. I'm here to put forth a strong suggestion to the Charter Commission that you let us vote. I want my community to feel safe and in connection with each other. I want people to be able to grow and to imagine. I want people to see what their community looks like outside of fear. The history of police violence and systemic harm must stop now so we can protect our neighborhoods. The Charter Commission has an amazing opportunity to do a peaceful transfer of power to the citizens of Minneapolis by allowing us to vote in November for the Department of Public Safety. This department is rooted in community strategies by and for the community. Let us look at history and be reminded that the Charter has not protected communities that are most vulnerable from police violence. Reform no more. It is time to realign our values and beliefs that all people deserve to feel supported and safe in their homes and neighborhoods. It is the Commission's responsibility to move the amendment forward and to do this by August.
Thank you. Your time is up. Thanks. Next speaker is Martin Hertz. Martin Hertz.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hi there. I'm Martin Hertz, resident of Ward 7. Thank you, Chairman and the Charter Commission, for the opportunity to speak. I am strongly in favor of the Commission moving forward with this amendment because it puts the future of public safety in the hands of the citizens of Minneapolis. First, the citizens will be able to vote on the amendment in November. Second, the citizens will be represented by our City Council members in the process of redefining public safety. If Commission members have concerns about the policy outcomes that may or may not come as a result of this amendment, you are welcome to join us, your fellow citizens, in voting in November and working with your Council member to influence outcomes. I'm worried the Commission is on a course to be the Electoral College of Minneapolis City Government, a group of individuals not accountable to voters that disrupts and distorts democracy. Please stay true to your mandate and vote to put this amendment on the ballot in November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Paul Pfeiffer. Paul Pfeiffer. The next speaker is Elowen Pfeiffer.
Hi, my name is Ellen Pfeiffer. I have just recently moved back to the Twin Cities where I grew up and I'm currently my name is Ellen Pfeiffer. I have just recently moved back to the Twin Cities where I grew up and am currently living with a variety of family members, including in Whittier and Stadium Village. I'm invested in making my home a place where people can live without the constant threat of violence, which is why I'm urging the Minneapolis Charter Commission to say no to the proposed amendment. We need community control of the police, CPAC, which is legislation that has been put before the Minneapolis City Council for years. We cannot trust that a body that has stood by for years as people were murdered will suddenly have the answers in the amendment to stop the same sanction violence. The power to stop this violence must be in the hands of the people, the community members, the families who've been directly affected, and from there we can talk about new ways to keep our communities safe. When you read the amendment, you see very little as to how the police will change other than in name. CPAC gives us a specific plan. So that's why I urge you to vote no to the amendment and yes, push for CPAC. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I believe Paul was trying to get off of mute. So if he can speak, I can pass that to him.
Thank you.
Hi.
Go ahead. Is this Paul?
This is Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. My name is Paul Pfeiffer, and I've lived and worked in the Twin Cities for more than 20 years. And I'm requesting that the Charter Commission say no to the proposed amendment because it provides no concrete details about what this amendment would do. It does not describe a new structure that would fundamentally change what we have now. It does not address police accountability in any concrete way. The City Council clearly cut and pasted a few words to create this amendment, and that's not enough. We need community control of the police. And community members and organizations have already provided a comprehensive proposal. These organizations have already done the hard work and the hard thinking about what community control of the police would look like. So I urge you to vote no on this empty amendment and adopt the structure of the CPAC proposal that has been submitted to the City Council by the Twin Cities Coalition for Justice for Jamar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Johnathan Tamayo.
Hello?
Hello. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello. My name is Johnathan Tamayo. I live in Ward 1, and I'm here today to demand that the Charter Commission does their job and allow the City Council to put this amendment on the ballot this year. I'm here to support and amplify the voices in both Black visions and reclaim the block. You are not elected officials. You do not represent the people. You are consultants who are not tasked with writing policy. I question all of your commitments to upholding the democratic process in a timely fashion. Listen, you have a choice. You can choose to stymie democracy and act as gatekeepers to the will and voice of the people, or you can choose to do your job and allow the elected officials of our city to do their job and give the people a voice. Commissioner Gregory Abbott, you suggested a 2-year pilot program. I ask of you, Mr. Abbott, how many more of my Black and brown neighbors need to be murdered by the MPD over the next 2 years for you to understand the urgency of our demands? Don't drag it to our feet. Give the people a voice by giving the people a vote.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ty Steinley.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
My name's Ty, and I work for the Minneapolis Public Schools. We must defund the police and work towards a police-free future. And the first step to doing this is approving the amendment as is for ballots as soon as possible. This charter amendment is sufficient for us to move forward. This charter amendment, which would only remove the police as a charter necessity, gives us the opportunity to begin the construction of a community whose safety is focused on violence prevention and de-escalation. This amendment gives us, the public, the avenue to start taking actions that mirrors the collective outcry that took place on May 25th, the day that Minneapolis police officers murdered George Floyd. The actions of the police, the people of South Minneapolis have demonstrated a clear desire for change in the way our city is policed and a desire for Black lives to be safe and valued in our streets. I demand the opportunity to allocate funding to programs that focus on reparations and healing and not the continuation of systems supporting white supremacy. I demand that the people of Minneapolis be given the opportunity to vote on this city charter amendment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jesse Mortensen.
Hello, this is Jesse Mortensen.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
less than a mile from the 3rd Precinct building. I'm calling to support the City Council's amendment, and I want that on the ballot this year. After this crisis, I'm excited that we're finally starting to take on the real scope of public safety problems here. On the other hand, I feel worried reading comments from some commissioners on this proposal. What do you think will happen to the reputation and credibility of the Charter Commission if you unilaterally prevent this from going on the ballot, or if you unilaterally place a competing amendment on the ballot? This commission needs to be seen as impartial. Right around the corner, this commission will be doing redistricting, a powerful duty that shapes elections. If this commission unilaterally takes a policy decision against a big chunk of the city against a unanimous city council vote, will it still be seen as impartial? Or will it be seen as having taken a big political stance, benefiting certain lobbying interests? Will we have to worry about the Police Federation influencing redistricting? So I urge you, don't stain the Charter Commission and let this go to a vote.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jay Palmer.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Have been a long time Minneapolis resident. Today I'm speaking against the Charter Amendment. I'm in favor of real community control of the police. This amendment is a watered down insult. We need an amendment that includes an all-elected, all-civilian council with power over the police. This amendment has no weight to actually hold police accountable. We need to stop police crimes before they happen, and we need to be mindful within that. The details do matter with something of this importance. I want the Charter Amendment, but in the right way. CPAC today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we've got the duplicate, Elowen Pfeiffer and Paul Pfeiffer, who just spoke, so I'll skip down to Andrew Fromm.
Hello?
Hello. We can hear you.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I was actually earlier in the queue, but I had the wrong number from the email. May I speak?
What is your name, please?
Laura Johnson.
Go ahead.
Hi. I urge the Charter Commissioners to pass the amendment. You are not an elected body, and to go against the work of an elected body seems really undemocratic. I also wonder, how will you feel if you prevent this amendment from going forward and we continue to see the deaths of Black and Brown people? We passed reforms in 2015 after Jamar Clark and Philando Castile. After Jamar Clark was killed, there was additional reforms when Philando Castile was killed in 2016. George Floyd was killed, and we have reached the point of a community of saying this is enough and we need something new. You are 15 unelected people who are standing in the way of us having a vote. Let the debate continue. Let us perfect an imperfect policy by voting on it and having those debates between now and November. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Andrew Fromm. Andrew Fromm. Okay, next is James Bergman.
Hi, this is James Bergman. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
I wanted to speak in support of the proposal to amend the city charter and the creation of a new department to provide for community safety and violence prevention. I speak as a staff member of a Minneapolis nonprofit in the Powderhorn neighborhood that works regularly with people dealing with mental health issues, addiction, economic insecurity, and homelessness. I see this amendment as a necessary early step to make the significant changes that are needed within the Minneapolis Police Department and the need for community safety and security. We do our very best as a nonprofit to use the existing resources and partnerships within the city, the county, and the other nonprofits that we have worked hard to establish. But there are times when we and our partners run out of resources to help our neighbors in need and find ourselves forced to call the police to deal with issues and ask them to do things that are outside of the scope of their job and training. I have frequently worked with people who are experiencing homelessness, working with people who are dealing with addiction issues and mental health crises, and run out of resources to be able to help. We need a new and better way, and this is a good first step to get there.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sam Kavanaugh.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sam Kavanaugh. I'm a social, and I've been a resident for 7 years now, currently in the South Uptown neighborhood. I'm advocating for putting the current proposed amendment on the ballot this year. However, I'm not advocating this because I'm taking a particular position on the police department. I'm doing so because right now, the people of Minneapolis are the most engaged and informed electorate that I've ever seen in any location. Since the start of the pandemic and civil unrest, I've met more of my neighbors and I've seen more positive community involvement than I thought possible in an urban environment. And not everyone agrees on the best way forward. In fact, of the dozens of conversations I've had, most people are undecided. What everyone seems to agree on, however, is that they want a say in the process, and they want to vote this year. A vote by you to allow this amendment in November is not a vote for or against police. It's a vote that affirms this incredible civic energy, affirms democracy, and trusts that one of the most educated cities in America can do their homework and make an informed and reasonable decision in November. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tom Pryor. Tom Pryor. Okay, the next speaker is Stephen Snyder. Stephen Snyder. The next speaker is Holly Johnson.
Oh, hello, this is Tom Pryor. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
I apologize for that. My name is Tom Pryor. I live in the Longfellow neighborhood in Ward and would like a chance to vote on it this November. With all due respect to the amendment the commission drafted just yesterday, it's clear that more piecemeal reforms aren't the answer, and we need a radically different approach to community safety. That's why thousands of residents have been marching nonstop in our streets, and that's why our democratically elected city council drafted its amendment the way they did. Their amendment not only does away with the police employment requirement, it not only severs ties with the police union by eliminating the department altogether, but it affirmatively sets out a vision for what community safety can look like in Minneapolis. The language of the amendment is clear, people know what's at stake, and we deserve a chance to vote on it this November. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll try Stephen Snyder again. Stephen Snyder. Okay, next is Holly Johnson. Hello? Holly Johnson? Next is Britt Anderson. Britt Anderson.
Hello?
Hello? Go ahead, we can hear you.
I am not Britt Anderson, but my name is Faith Thing, and I missed the call earlier because I had the wrong phone number. But I am Faith Thing, and I'm a resident belonging to the Longfellow community in the south of Minneapolis. And I'm a member of the Youth Push of BBC and Isaiah, and I'm calling to urge the commission to put the amendment on the November ballot. Since the death of George Floyd and throughout the protests within the couple months, MPD has showed us citizens that they're incapable of protecting us, and it's rather hard to put faith in the system that seems to have been in opposition with us the whole time. I no longer want to be the witness to violence and mistreatment to marginalized communities, and it's fair to say that we've moved past the point of trust in the system. It may seem as if the charter is vague, but I, however, see it as being flexible and a necessary step into reimagining the future of public safety, where we put an emphasis on violence prevention, mental health, and community programs. The citizens of Minneapolis are ready to see change within the city, and we want to use our voting power to make the decisions on how we will be protected. Please listen to our pleas and our voices, and I urge you to stand with the youth and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're still at Britt. We're still at Britt Anderson.
They put the wrong.
Can we go ahead? Can we please mute everyone? Can we please Okay, Britt Anderson is not here. Dale Holm. Dale Holm. Sara Fowler. You need to press *6 to unmute. Sara Fowler. Candace Palmer. Candace Palmer. Deborah Davis. Deborah Davis. I just want to make sure things are still functioning. If somebody presses *6, it should unmute, correct? I'm asking the technical team. If somebody presses *6, it should unmute.
This is a caller. I just hit *6 and it worked for me.
Okay, good. What's your name, caller?
Mike Ryan, number 58.
We'll get to you shortly. Thank you. Deborah Davis.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Go ahead.
I was just checking the stop. I was answering your, yeah, do unmute.
Okay, go ahead and mute and we'll get to you in due course.
How do you mute back? *6.
Yes. Rod Latour.
Hi, my name is Rod Latour. I live in South Minneapolis. The first thing I'd like to say is there seems to be a lot of misinformation because it seems that people believe that the Charter Commission itself is what has the power to kill this amendment or not. They only could delay it. And I'm calling to support not putting this onto the 21 ballot because I think the city council did an end run around the citizens of Minneapolis and are trying to get them to vote for an amendment without telling them specifically what they're going to get. Public safety is everybody's right to have it as a citizen that pays taxes in the city, yet they're trying to tell people, vote for something and then we'll tell you what you get afterwards. That's backwards and it's dangerous. And this doesn't mean that I'm in support of the cops or anything else, but what I am in support of is a fair process where everybody gets a chance to be heard and listened to. And at the same time, I do believe ultimately this should go on the ballot in November 21, not November 20. It's too soon, too quick. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Megan Lanigan. Megan Lanigan.
Hi, this is Megan Lanigan.
Go ahead.
I'm calling to talk against the Charter Commission's amendment. I think, similar to the previous caller, I think that while there is a definite crisis going on and a need for action, I think that everything is moving too quickly, and I think a lot of this is political pander to try and act like you're doing something without providing an actual solution. And I don't think the current amendment by that's being proposed is going to do anything to change what's been going on in this city. And I think we have to have an actual answer and an actual plan put forward as to what's going to replace the current situation and answers to what's going to provide the city with the most safety in the future. Thanks.
Thank you. The next speaker is Roderick McCullough. Roderick McCullough. Next speaker is Janet Court.
Hello.
Hello. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes, my name is Janet Court, and I live in Ward 9, Powderhorn neighborhood.
Go ahead.
I worked in reform of criminal justice and safety for 50 years. You cannot just make minor changes on this. It needs a complete rebuild. For as long as I've been alive, there's been two forms of justice, one for white people and another for people of color. I also would like to speak against the amendment that was passed yesterday or the day before, because it leaves everything in the hands of one person, and that person may have a very lenient or a very dramatically strict form of their view of public safety. I was thinking of Charlie Stenbig, who most people here are too young to remember, but at one time we had a cop as mayor. So just think of that. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And the next speaker is Amy Blumenshine. Amy Blumenshine. The next speaker is Rachel Bannon.
My name is Rachel, and I'm a resident of Whittier. So I've been on this call the entire meeting, and I've noticed that the moderator is not consistently waiting the full 10 seconds that you said at the beginning for people to unmute themselves. Please wait so that people can participate in this process that is already not very democratic. So your primary duty as our representatives is to listen and act on behalf of the people that you represent. And hundreds of people have spoken or written to the representatives to change the charter over several weeks. I don't know what more do you need to hear at this point. You need to do your civic duty and actively work to dismantle the white supremacy that is alive and well and how our city council functions by putting the amendment on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alex Palacios. Alex Palacios. Okay, the next speaker is Teresa Madaus.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Teresa. I'm a Minneapolis resident living in Ward 12. I'm in full support of the amendment, and I ask the commissioners to put it on the ballot for the voters to decide this November in 2020. It is not the job of the commission to gatekeep democracy. It is the job of the commission to allow us to vote on this amendment soon. We can't wait for another person to be killed by police. The MPD is a racist, violent system. It is beyond reform, and we deserve a police-free future. We deserve a transformed system that works to prevent harm for everyone. And we deserve this change to begin now. This amendment is a first step, and it will allow the City Council to move forward in collaboration with our communities. Remove the barriers and let us begin. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Robert Plan. Robert Plan. The next speaker is Neil Urbanski.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you to the commissioners for the opportunity to speak. My name is Neil Urbanski, and I live in Ward 6. The majority of Minneapolis residents have zero trust that the officers of the Minneapolis Police Department have our best interest in mind. We've watched the MPD become increasingly militarized and belligerent over the years. We've seen them operate with impunity, and the resulting arrogance, combined with a horrifically deadly arsenal, has created a power-drunk culture for which there is no fix. Repairing the fractured relationship between the police and the people is simply not possible, and there is no future for the Minneapolis Police Department in this city. We deserve the chance to design a public safety system that gives voice to and elevates the greatest aspects of our nature. And you know what? We have the ability to do it. We just need the chance. So please recommend that this proposed amendment be put on the ballot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kevin Aldwake. Kevin Aldwake. The next speaker is John Malloy. John Malloy. The next speaker is Abby Walker.
I live in Ward 12.
We hear you. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. Perception of the police force as a system rooted in racial and class patrolling, the policing is not a model that protects all communities. We've also been seeing for decades how investing in systems of community support has actually decreased violence and crime. And while both of these truths have been present for a very long time, in the last few weeks, Minneapolis has very clearly seen the systemic police abuse of Black and brown folks and the transformative power of our communities to develop their own models of public safety that don't involve the police. This movement is not a reactionary rush in response to the murder of George Floyd individually. It's the result of decades of organizing and work of Black-led organizations in response to hundreds of years of racist violence. The amendment proposed by our elected city council specifically provides the first steps not only to reduce the number of police, but to collectively envision a new department of public safety. Enough people have shown that they care about this. Thousands have protested and contacted their council members, and the people have the right to decide. Your job is to make way for that democratic process rather than make decisions for the people as an unelected and unrepresentative body of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Shannon Carboni.
Hi, my name is Shannon. I'm from Ward 1.
Go ahead. Go ahead, we hear you.
My name is Shannon from Ward 1. I'm calling in support of putting the City Council's proposed charter amendment on the ballot this year. As a healthcare worker in downtown Minneapolis, I see how harmful an overfunded police department and an underfunded community is every single day. We say everyone in Minneapolis deserves to feel safe and deserves to be heard, but the current charter requiring MPD silences so many of the community voices that we're supposed to be centering right now. Not letting us vote silences everyone. Please put this on the ballot this November. We aren't rushing. The research and work regarding a public health approach to public safety has been done for years, even if not everyone has engaged with it until now. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Madeline Weissner.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. My name is Maddie Weissner. I live in Ward 10, and I'm a kindergarten teacher. And like many of the other speakers have said, I also believe that we should be given the chance to vote this year on the charter amendment. This process of public safety reimagining needs to be led by community members and organizations who've been doing this work for a really long time, and voting allows us to be a part of the process. I feel like we're being shut out of this process right now. It's really important also that we're allowed to vote this year while there's momentum going on in the community. If we're not able to vote this year and it's pushed off another year, people might feel discouraged, and rightfully so, and drop out a bit in terms of their engagement. So I really want to encourage you not to shut the community out of the process and to put the amendment on the ballot this year so that we can vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Bruce Johnson.
Yeah, this is Bruce Johnson. Lived on East Lake for years. Someone speaking there. I live in Hawthorne. I live in Hawthorne neighborhood in North Minneapolis. I'm an advocate for police reform, have been for a decade, and I agree that we need to tear down the Minneapolis police and rebuild it. But to everyone who's supporting this city council's amendment, I have to say, this ain't what you want. I asked the charter commission not to put this on the ballot in November until the city council puts forward a plan so we know what we're voting for. This isn't police reform. It's a blank check to the city council who spent years banning plastic bags, spending millions on bike lanes while we cried out for reform and for protection. I've got bullet holes in my house. We've got girls getting dragged into cars and kidnapped. We've got people getting shot on my block, gunshots every single day. And the city council has done nothing for us in all these years. And now we're supposed to hand all this power over to them. And Minneapolis police has always been messed up, but people are talking about a police-free city. This will just end up like Detroit. There'll be no jobs left, no businesses.
Thank you. Mary Ford.
Yes, this is Mary. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
I am a Minneapolis homeowner for 30 years in Ward 12. I agree with the City Council and I support their amendment. In its present form, the charter is a barrier to vitally needed changes in city security and well-being following George Floyd's murder. Council members want voters on November 3rd to have a say in how the protection of Minneapolis citizens can be best improved and expanded. The new language continues to allow for a law enforcement division with licensed officers, but it emphasizes a holistic public health-oriented approach to violence prevention. City Council members have received hundreds and hundreds of messages since George Floyd died, asking for big changes in how city residents are kept safe. Allow our elected council members to heed constituents' requests. We elected them. We did not elect you. Thank you for letting voters vote in November.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ryan Allen. Ryan Allen. We'll move on to the next speaker. By the way, we've been going at it for about an hour, so we'll have one more hour of testimony. The next speaker is Melissa Hermes.
Hello, my
Hello.
name is Melissa Hermes, and
Go
I
ahead.
live in Ward 8. Thank you. My ask of the Charter Commission is to help ensure the language on the ballot is clear in regards to what the Charter will and will not allow the City Council to do. There are multiple changes being proposed in the amendment, each ballot worthy on their own. Therefore, it is critical that the scope and impact of the proposed changes are clearly articulated on the ballot, so that on 11-3, voters understand what they are being asked to vote for. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mike Ryan.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Mike Ryan, resident of Lyndhurst neighborhood and president of Ryan Company's North Region. We have 750 employees downtown. We've been here for 40 years, and we care deeply about all members of our community and what happens. I urge the commission not to allow the charter change on the 2020 ballot. This charter is being confused with justice and for years of unaccounted for racism, and it's not this. Rather, it's just the first associated proposal anyone's had a chance to review, and therefore it's gravitational. It's distracting, in my opinion, from the actual racial reform, police reform, and progress that must happen. Residents, minority leaders, employers, faith communities, organizations have had zero opportunity to weigh in on a thoughtful charter amendment or plan. This amendment really at its core does two things. It erodes all accountability for the police department or public safety department by giving 14 bosses to those forces. Long term, that's a mistake or a power grab in the short term, which is sort of confusing. And the second thing it does is it provides or eliminates the police, and that just doesn't seem realistic. I'd ask that you just allow time for a proper process.
The next speaker is Richard Baer.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, if you get this on the ballot and it passes, it's going to be a disaster. People are not going to want to invest in here. They're not going to want to buy houses here. We're going to hollow out the city. They might go to the suburbs, but this is a knee-jerk reaction. The council is not an expert in this subject. There's no clear idea what comes next. you need more police, more police. You should listen to Chief Arredondo. He wanted more police. People want to be safe. They want to be safe in their community so they can invest in it and fix up their houses. This will hollow out the city like Detroit. Don't let the loudest voices run the city, please. Everybody thinks we're going to be wearing flowers in our hair, and there's a lot of criminals out there. Okay?
Thank you. The next speaker is Jeffrey Strand. Jeffrey Strand. The next speaker is Amanda Yord.
Hello, my name is Amanda Yord.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Neighborhood. I'm in support of putting the City Council's amendment as it is written on the ballot this November. This amendment will have an impact on everyone in Minneapolis, and to me, the passion and level of interest we've seen even on this call proves that we need to have it on the ballot. There's no way that everyone who has an opinion on this amendment can submit a comment or testify at a public hearing over the phone, and everyone really deserves to have their opinion heard, and the best way to do this is at the ballot box. So I'm asking you to please put your trust in the people of Minneapolis and let us vote on the charter amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Heidi Froseth.
Hello and thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Great. I live downtown Minneapolis, near Loring Park, and I have been a resident of over 30 years in Minneapolis. The entire time I've lived here, there has been systemic bias by the police, and we've seen that in the payouts of actually not enough payouts of lawsuits. I am extremely passionate about what's because of that history, and also passionate about change. However, I don't think anyone on the phone today has said it better than Bruce Johnson. I, as a very passionate person about this and believe that this has been a challenge forever, believe that we need to do the work to actually put something real in front of our citizens. And so I do not support this charter amendment and believe that the work has not been done to thoughtfully put an actual piece of body of work on what this would look like. And I do agree that we do need. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Michael Altman. Michael Altman.
My name is Michael Altman, and
Go
I live
ahead.
in Linden Hills. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go
I
on. Go
support
ahead.
the put forward by the council. And more importantly, I support putting the amendment to a public vote. I fully understand that today's proposed charter amendment is not a detailed plan for fixing the system, and that's because a charter is bigger than any particular plan. The purpose of the city charter is to give the leaders the broad framework to implement policy with appropriate accountability. In '61, the charter was amended to mandate the size of the police force. The charter does not dictate the size and budget of other departments. That change also placed the mayor between the city council and the police department. Again, this is an anomaly and has prevented accountability when the council has tried to make changes. The city council is actually elected in a more representational fashion than the mayor. Let the people of Minneapolis have the opportunity to vote on this in November and correct this 60-year-old anomaly. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Nikki Kata. Nikki Kata or Kota. The next speaker is Olin Montez. Olin Montez. The next speaker is Maggie Kennedy. Maggie Kennedy.
Hello?
Hello. We hear
Hi,
you. Go
my
ahead.
name's
Go ahead.
and I live in Ward 10. I want to strongly reiterate what a lot of my neighbors have been saying. The Minneapolis uprising in the wake of the police murder of George Floyd made it clear that the people of this city want, need, deserve, and demand to have a say in what safety looks like in the city. The number of callers on the phone tonight and last week, and for each of us, the countless others who didn't know this commission process is happening, couldn't call in, or are having technical difficulties being heard, makes it clear again that the people of this city have opinions, emotions, and visions on what safety means in Minneapolis and are demanding to be heard. Simply put, let us vote on this amendment in November. Do your job and let the people decide. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Brian Hart.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Go ahead.
That's awesome. I sent an attachment to. It's just one slide. My name is Brian, and I'm calling in from Ward 7. Esteemed, unelected, and supremely non-representative charter commissioners, I'm calling in this evening in support of the City Council Charter Amendment related to the removal of our current violent, ineffective, and wholly unaccountable police force as a charter department, and the creation of a new charter department for community safety and violence prevention. I think we can all agree that appointed city commissioners have a duty to never obstruct the democratic process and thereby silence the voices of the people of this city. So not only do we demand to vote on this amendment in this November's general election, so do whatever you have to, but don't delay past August 5th and make sure we can vote on it, but we also look forward to the day where Minnesota Statute Section 410.05 is amended to ensure your positions are elected positions and no longer appointed by a single judge to represent the will of the people. I yield my time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Roger Cornett. Roger Cornett. Okay, the next speaker is Joseph Norcross. Joseph Norcross. Press star 6 to unmute. Next speaker is Kevin Heisdorfer.
Hi, my name is Kevin. I am a 10-year resident of the Longfellow neighborhood in Minneapolis. As a resident, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Kevin. I am a 10-year resident of the Longfellow neighborhood in Minneapolis. As a resident, taxpayer, and investor in the city of Minneapolis, I urge the commission to oppose the Public Safety Charter Amendment as proposed by the City Council. I believe deep police reform is needed, as evidenced by the violent murder of George Floyd and others across the country. The City Council has had authority over the MPD and had time to enact positive police reform, but it failed to do so. The current amendment is a quick reaction with no clear plan that will impact the future of our city and its residents for years to come. Community public safety deserves support and vetting from national public safety experts, state leaders, community leaders, and all of its residents. It's moving too quickly for true community input that lacks a clear, well-thought plan. Thank you for your consideration, and I urge the Commission to oppose the Public Safety Charter Amendment as written and take the time to get it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mustafa Adam. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin Heisdorfer.
That was just Kevin.
Oh, okay, sorry. Mustafa Adam.
Hello? Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Joseph Norcross. I live in Loring Park and organize the Jewish Voice for Peace. I am demanding that you do your job and let the people of Minneapolis vote on the Charter Amendment and do so with the utmost urgency. The Park Board used a brief delay to begin the demolishing of Powderhorn Sanctuary this week, and they hope people would tire in their opposition to violent policing. They're wrong, and you will be wrong if you attempt to use this tactic of delaying the vote in hopes that the demand for it goes away. We can't and won't wait any longer. The police cannot be reformed. Black and Indigenous people of color have long been waiting for our elected city council to get on board with the idea that the MPD is not a required department and it needs to end. Trans people have not been waiting so long for this council, only for another group of mostly white cis people in the form of the Charter Commission to then get the opportunity to slowly mull it over too. The uprising is signing up that the wait is finally over. Your job is just to allow Minneapolis to vote, so do that.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mustafa Adam.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, my name is Mustafa Adam. I live in Ward 3. I am calling to request you to do your job and let the people decide, and I yield the of my side. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jacob Poling. Jacob Poling. The next speaker is Jeff Glowa.
Hello, my name is Jeff. I live in the 9th Ward.
Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Jeff from the 9th Ward. Just wanted to call and express my gratitude for holding this hearing. Also wanted to express my concerns, like other callers have mentioned about the democratic process. Please bring forth this issue to the voters in November. We deserve a right to put this forth as soon as possible to the democratic process, and we need more of the people to have an input. Our biggest concern is the growth in the MPD, which is also co-opting social services. And the people need a chance to have an input in this. It's a lot of money that's diverted to the police when it could be diverted to other helpers in the community and service providers. And we need to have community input in this. Please bring it forth to the ballot in November, and thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Gary Meyer.
Hello, my name is Gary Meyer, and I live in Ward 3, Nicollet Island, East Bank. Prior to moving to Minneapolis, I lived for 15 years in Oregon, and during that time I saw several ballot initiatives succeed at the polls, but fail as laws because they had unintended consequences. It was later determined that the shortcomings of these well-intentioned ballot initiatives were likely due to not passing through the legislative committee review process. I urge the Charter Commission to do your job and not succumb to the people who are pleading with you to just let us vote. Please review the proposed amendment carefully and don't let an unnecessarily specific portion of the Charter be replaced by something that is potentially vague and open to interpretation. At a minimum, please write a public document that summarizes any concerns that the Commission might have about how the amendment will function if it is enacted. Thank you for your time and for your service to the community.
Thank you. I'm sorry, was that Gary Meyer that just spoke?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Hello. Thank you. The next speaker is Griffin McInerney.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. In my minute, I'd like to address a comment made by Commissioner Kozak yesterday. He seemed annoyed that so many people had voiced support for the amendment and wished to have, quote, roughly the same time for each side to make their case, unquote. Commissioners, this is not a court case where you have two sides presenting their cases to you. This is a public hearing where you are hearing the public. And what we're telling you overwhelmingly is that we want a voice and the future of safety in our city, and even the majority of those who oppose the amendment still want to have themselves as their voices heard. So I do support this amendment going on the ballot as the council originally submitted it. You as well will be able to express your personal views, just as I will when it's on the ballot, but your personal views absolutely should not be impacting your vote on this amendment being on the ballot, and I expect you in your roles as commissioners to let us be able to vote on this amendment this November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jenna Mastaloni.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi,
Go
my
ahead.
name is Jenna. I live in Ward 6 in the Phillips West neighborhood. I do not know what you are so afraid will happen if we are allowed to take this bare minimum first step to changing policing in Minneapolis.
Unfortunately, the police will not disappear overnight, and it's a fallacy of whiteness that we need a perfect plan in place before we can move forward or take people's suffering seriously. There is no perfect plan that we will have in a year, but what we have right now is abysmal. And your job is not to evaluate policy proposals or the perceived lack thereof. And you seem hell-bent on making this process as convoluted and confusing as possible, rather than letting us move forward and actually craft public safety. We will eliminate the Minneapolis Police Department with or without your approval. And if you make us wait, you will continue to put lives at risk and allow MPD to operate with impunity. So let us vote this November.
Thank you.
And take this step. Thank you.
The next speaker is Bill James. Bill James. The next speaker is Chuck Turchik.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I have nothing to add. I have nothing to add to the many emails I've sent you. I do apologize for having sent so many of them. I would just like to point out that ironically, the elected body bypassed any public hearing, and the unelected body has held 2 public hearings. Thank you, and thank you for the work you do as volunteers for the city.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mike Hickey. Mike Hickey. The next speaker is Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson. The next speaker is Holly Morgell. Holly Morgell. The next speaker is Jaya Paul. Jaya Paul. The next speaker is Serena Partridge. Press *6 to unmute. Serena Partridge.
Hi, this is Serena Partridge. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Serena Partridge, and I live in the Powderhorn Park neighborhood of Minneapolis, Ward 9. Let's first acknowledge that we are here because of a racist, violent police system that needs to change now. I am in support of this amendment to the city charter, and I urge you to put it on the ballot for the city's people to vote on in November. Let the people vote. Please make this recommendation by August 5th. Do not hesitate. Do not miss this powerful moment in our city's unfolding history. We are seeing the righteous anger and incredible movement building strength of people who have been oppressed and traumatized by police brutality for years, for decades, and for generations. It is time for you to do your job and listen to what they are asking for and lift up their voices. We need to be able to vote on this in November. I'm excited to vote on this for the amendment. Thank you.
The next speaker is Melissa Johnson. Melissa Johnson. The next speaker is Conan Hickey. Conan Hickey. The next speaker is Blue Delaquanti. Blue Delaquanti. The next speaker is Linnea Swenson Tellickson. Linnea Swenson Tellickson.
Hello, my name is Blue Delaquanti. May I speak?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I'm Blue Delaquanti from Ward 10. I want a chance to vote yes on the amendment. The police cannot be reformed. My neighbors in the uprising understand the false promise of symbolic incremental change, and their demand for a vote follows years of residents trying to stop the wrongful killings that happen every day and month and year. Political action is delayed. This summer is proof that those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. We must vote this year. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll try Linnea Swenson Tellickson one more time. Okay, next speaker is Sara Scott.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Sara Scott, and I live in Ward 10, Whittier neighborhood, and I am calling in to say I'm against this charter amendment. This poorly written and rushed amendment could end up doing more harm than good. If we don't get this right, it could set back the entire movement for the whole country. Nowhere in this amendment does it say who will discipline the officers. It only renames the department and transfers power to City Council. The City Council has done nothing to hold the police accountable before this. Why should we trust them to hold the police accountable now? We need community control of the police, and City Council control of the police is not the same thing as community control of the police. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jennifer Lindner, Lindner. Jennifer Lindner. Jennifer Lindner. The next speaker is Paul Ostro. Paul Ostro. The next speaker is Teresa Blue. Go ahead, speaker.
Hello, my name is Teresa Blue.
Go ahead.
I'm in Ward 12, South Minneapolis, and I urge the Charter Commission to move forward with the Charter amendment and put it on the ballot in November 2020, this year. It is urgent that the democratic process is not blocked. We must be allowed to vote to change the Charter. We cannot wait another year. There are major issues that need to be addressed because the current system isn't keeping people safe, and the police cannot be reformed. Using police to forcibly remove people from parks is not keeping all people safe. Leaving people with dismal options to find shelter is not keeping people safe. I stand with community leaders for Black Visions Collective and Reclaim the Block that want to reimagine a future that cares for people and serves their basic needs. The Charter cannot stand in the way. Let us vote to change the Charter. We cannot wait another year. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Lynn.
Hi.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm Elizabeth Lynn, and I moved to Whittier neighborhood of Minneapolis from St. Louis, Missouri last September. I am calling as a member of Isaiah's Youth Coalition to request that the Charter Commission allow the Public Safety Amendment to be put on the November 2020 ballot. First and foremost, the Minneapolis Police Department's ongoing violence against the people it's supposed to protect, particularly the Black people it's supposed to protect, is an urgent and crucial matter that demands an immediate response. In addition, the future of public safety in Minneapolis is an issue that extends far beyond your 15-member commission and should be addressed democratically via ballot by the greater public of Minneapolis. While I thank you for taking the time to listen to me today, I ask that you do not forget that I am just one of hundreds of thousands of Minneapolis residents whose concerns deserve to be heard. The people of Minneapolis should be able to vote on the charter amendment this November so that future public safety practices might better meet the needs of our communities. Let us vote.
Thank you. The next speaker is Leo Martin. Leo Martin.
Leo Martin.
Go ahead.
I'm a resident of the Bancroft neighborhood in the 8th Ward. This proposed amendment should not be on the ballot. It is an incomplete and vague idea. The proposal says the council may maintain a division of law enforcement services. This implies that there may not be a law enforcement entity in the city. While I agree that reform is needed, recent violent events in the city indicate there is still a need for law enforcement. It is naive to think that crime will be reduced to the point of not needing law enforcement. I've been a homeowner in Minneapolis for 34 years. I too deserve to have a sense of peace and safety in my city. I repeat, this amendment should not be on the ballot. I do thank the Commission for giving us the opportunity to express our opinions, unlike our City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Valerie Martin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My
Go
name is
ahead.
Valerie. I've lived in Minneapolis for 45 years. I believe the proposed charter amendment should not be put on the November ballot. The City Council, which is an elected body, did attempt to do this to remove the MPD from the city charter without community input. Therefore, I thank the Commission for allowing us to give some input. Further, the proposal does not include any recommendation for future public safety. It does not address the issues of violence or injustice in Minneapolis, and its language does not guarantee any kind of future law enforcement. Its language is very vague and incomplete. And with the escalating violence in this city, I find it inconceivable that our city leaders would even suggest that the MPD should be dismantled, defunded, or reduced in size.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jocelyn Frank. Jocelyn Frank.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hey, this is not Jocelyn, but you all called my name before, and I had the wrong number that was emailed to me.
What is your name, please?
My name is Alex Palacio.
Okay, go ahead, Alex.
Hey, so, hello, my name is Alex. I am a resident of Ward 9, and I had a whole speech that was written up for me that I was supposed to say. I'm just actually going to speak from the heart. As a Black person living in Minneapolis, I wanted to let y'all know that this is the first time I have been able to imagine safety in my lifetime since I was born, right? And that's because of the uprising that has happened in Minneapolis, where thousands of Minneapolisans led by Black queer youth are really advocating for and crying for a radical shift in how we see safety in our city and in our world. And not just in Minneapolis, but we're seeing this all over the world where people are advocating and urging people to have a radical shift in how we see safety. And we know that the police are not safety for us. And I'm sure that all of you have seen news articles and people been advocating for us to actually change the ways that we're seeing. And y'all have an opportunity to do that in this moment. Y'all have an opportunity to let future generations know that y'all were thinking about them when being able to have this democratic process, right? So I really want to urge y'all to listen. I want to urge y'all to listen to us in this time and really shift the ways that we can see our society and vote yes to have this go to democracy. Thank you.
We'll try Jocelyn Frank again. Jocelyn Frank. Gregory King.
Hello, this is Gregory. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Yep. Hi. Thank you. I'm a resident of Ward 11, been a homeowner here for 22 years, and I just want to say that I support putting the charter amendment on the ballot this November. If there's anything tonight has taught me is that our community is ready to have this vote. We are as informed and engaged on this charter amendment as anything in my 22 years in Minneapolis. So the idea that we don't have time to deliberate is clearly ludicrous. Let the democratic process play out. And I'd also ask the Charter Commission to take a look at yourselves and make sure that every decision from here on out, you're asking how are we shifting power, resources to our Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities, including who's in the room when we make our decisions. And if they're not in the room when decisions are being made, please change who's in that room. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sharon Polk. Sharon Polk. The next speaker is John Sylvester. John Sylvester. Todd Schumann. Todd Schumann. James Smikaroff. Hello.
Hi, I'm James Smikaroff. I'm calling to say I support putting the City Council amendment on the ballot for many of the reasons already eloquently stated. I didn't know who the Charter Commission was until recently, but as far as I know, it isn't up to you to approve this for it to proceed. While I truly appreciate you using your vast experience to provide comment, it would be undemocratic of you to go out of your way to delay it as some sort of self-proclaimed cooling saucer. Please don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Alex Samuelson. Alex Samuelson. Are you there? The next speaker is Robin Swingley.
Hello, this is Robin Swingley. Can you hear me?
We can. Please go ahead.
I'm a resident of Ward 3, and I would just urge you to not let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and please let this go to a vote this November. I'll refer you to my emailed comments for the rest of my statement. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Ruby Erickson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Ruby Erickson, go ahead.
In regards to community safety and in favor of letting Minneapolis residents vote on the matter, I believe that this change is a necessary step to actually make our community safer, especially for Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks in our city. By allowing citizens to vote on changing the charter, to put the control of community safety where it should be, in the hands of the community. As it stands, accountability to the Minneapolis community. This means that when the police department commits racist violence against Black and brown bodies like that of George Floyd, the community has no means of holding the police force accountable for its actions. I urge you to let the Minneapolis community decide on its own means of public safety, whatever that may look like, and that starts by letting Minneapolis residents vote on the charter this November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kathleen Lenk. Kathleen Lenk. The next speaker is Willie Tan. Willie Tan. The next speaker is Jessica Sarles.
Hello, this is Jessica Soros from Ward 6. I just moved to Minneapolis in the last 6 months, and I've never had the privilege to live in a city. Oh, hello, my name is Jessica Soros. I just moved to Minneapolis in Ward 6. I've never lived in a city before whose people love it so much as in Minneapolis. I've been impressed with how people have been marching and donating and cleaning up. And I believe based on these behavior under pressure that you can trust the people of Minneapolis with this ballot decision sooner rather than later. Thank you, Charter Commission, for your time and patience tonight. And I hope that you empower the people of the city to make their own decisions. I want to live somewhere I can participate, and that makes a difference where I choose to stay and invest at home. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Abigail Stone. Abigail Stone. The next speaker is Sandra Hollinger Samuels. Sandra Hollinger Samuels. The next speaker is Ismail Dore, or Dore.
Good evening, members of the Charter Commission. I want to thank everyone who took the time to call and support. Good evening, members of the Charter Commission. I want to thank everyone who took the time to call in support of the proposed charter amendment. My name is Ismail Dore, and I reside in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood of Minneapolis. I'm also a community organizer with the ACLU of Minnesota. On behalf of my organization and the community, I'm calling today to urge you to allow the people to have a voice on this charter amendment in November. Because not only has the community spoken, the community continues to be very vocal about not feeling safe with our current public safety system, actually. If you are all appointed by an elected official whose responsibility it is to serve the public, then it is also your responsibility to give the community the right to decide what public safety looks like to them, the voters. We all know throughout life many systems become outdated and have to be reformed, and our current police system is definitely one of them. I've witnessed firsthand the power of community coming together to keep the public safe. The people of Minneapolis have a vision of what public safety means to them. We can come together to bring the solutions to the table. That is what a community is. Let the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Toby Doyle. Toby Doyle. The next speaker is Mitchell Hansen. Mitchell Hansen. The next speaker is Tom Qualley.
Hi, my name is Tom Qualley. I'm a resident of downtown Minneapolis. I am calling in to encourage the Charter Commission. I'm encouraging the Charter Commission to vote against the proposed charter amendment. I do not believe the City Council has clearly identified what their main objectives are with the proposed change, nor have I heard anything about how they propose to measure progress once this amendment is proposed and adopted. What are the metrics that they plan to use to chart progress? Who are the responsible parties and what are the timeframes we're talking about? And finally, I'm really concerned that the amendment provides no minimum police officers or what might be called violence prevention officers at a time when 200 police officers have applied to leave the force, and both the homicide and the violent crime rates have doubled this year. I don't believe city residents should accept some sort of vague trust me promise from the council with these crime increases staring us in the face. Thanks.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kiara Williams.
Hi there, I'm Kiara Williams, North Minneapolis resident of Ward 5, speaking on behalf. Hello there. Kiara Williams here. I'm a North Minneapolis resident of Ward 5, speaking on behalf of my community to express my support for the public safety amendment being put on the ballot in November. It's a step in the right direction. Like others stated on this call, I do feel the City Council needs to make more precise plans regarding the future of public safety. Police are supposed to be here to keep us safe, yet the origin of them in this country lies in the terrorism against Blacks and Natives specifically. When it comes to policing our community, I believe each ward should have a community-appointed board that disciplines the police outside of the City Council. This board will make decisions regarding the eligibility of police officers being hired based on their mental health and administer consequences for police officers and community members. Police officers also should have to live in the community they serve and hold liability insurance to hold them accountable for their actions.
Thank you. The next speaker is Olivia Nichols. Olivia Nichols. Okay, this is just a acknowledgement that we've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes, and we have about 15 minutes left to go for the public hearing. The next speaker is Emily Noel, or Noel.
Hi, my name is Emily Noel, and I am a white female who resides in Ward 4, as well as teacher.
Emily Noel, can you start over again? We're having trouble hearing you.
Hi, this is Emily Noel.
Go ahead now.
I am a white female. Thank you. I am a white female who resides.
Keep going.
Okay. I am a white teacher and coach in North Minneapolis, and I am a resident. I have never felt unsafe in my home or at work. I will continue to feel safe with or without the presence of MPD. However, our Black neighbors and students do not feel safe. Even beyond policing, the fact we live in a food desert, job desert, and that health and social services are widely unavailable and inaccessible. How we define safety is a racially biased concept formed by our whiteness. We need to listen and elevate the voices of those who feel unsafe. The way to do that is to allow the opportunity to vote on this matter, because I am seeing Black voices are largely invisible on this Minneapolis Charter Commission. Whether or not you choose to move the amendment forward, please listen to and elevate the voices of local Black leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is River Fiocco.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you. Please
Hello.
Go ahead.
And I live in Ward 2 in Prospect Park. I support the charter amendment. The murder of George Floyd and so many others have shown that the Minneapolis Police Department does not promote public safety for anyone. We need to dismantle it, and this charter amendment is the first step towards this. I know there's more work to be done, but I trust the City Council to continue working with local leaders, Reclaim the Block, Black Visions, MPD 150, to create the change that we need. They reflect the perspectives of Minneapolis citizens, and the amendment is based on years of research by these local organizations. And people who say that the amendment is rushed have not been paying attention to these issues until now, and are unable to imagine alternatives to police that work for Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, as well as white people. This is the first step, and it's already happening too late to prevent so many deaths. But the next best time to take the step is now. We can't wait another year to get the ball rolling on this.
Thank you.
Please let Minneapolis. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Jessica Vedrati.
Hello, my name is Jessica and I live in Ward 10. I urge you to put this charter amendment on the ballot this fall. While it is the Commission's job to determine if a proposal is appropriate for the charter, it is also the Commission's job to guarantee the democratic process that empowers the community to choose what is best for us. We feel the police have failed to protect and serve us on a micro and macro level. My Black and brown friends are pulled over at least once a month for quote-unquote routine traffic stops that I'm afraid may result in fatal shootings. I do not want my friends to die at the hands of police. We cannot wait until another life is unjustly lost before we take action. We cannot wait until we get this amendment perfect. We need to move forward imperfectly to save lives and change the city's safety for the better. Our communities are hurting right now. We needed change yesterday. We demand democracy now, and we implore you to let the citizens of Minneapolis vote for a better tomorrow. Please let us vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dan Polhammer.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
My name is Dan Polhammer. I live in East Isles. I'm a member of Ward 7. I call in support of moving forward with the charter amendment on the ballot. I do so for many reasons, but not least of which is the number of diverse voices on this call who have done so already. I would like to express my support for the positions of the people who've spoken before. Abby Frank Taylor, Jesse Mortensen, Laurie Johnson, James Bergman, Teresa Matos, Shannon Carboni, Madeline Weissner, Mary Ford, Michael Altman, Alex Palacios, Ishmael Dore, and Kiara Williams. It's about as diverse a crowd as one could hope to hear in Minneapolis on a call like this. And if we're here already having this conversation, please allow us the chance to vote. I thank you for your time and your service to our city. Please let us vote. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kenneth Freeland. Kenneth Freeland. Next speaker is Beth Duren.
Hello?
Hello. Go ahead. We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
My name is Beth Durain, and I'm a resident of Ward 12. It seems to me that the charter commissioners do not live in North Minneapolis or in South Minneapolis in the area surrounding the 3rd Precinct. If you did live here, you would know of the many neighborhood meetings taking place starting in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder, and we are still getting together regularly now to talk about a new vision of community safety that centers the voices of our Black and brown neighbors, and to reimagine how money spent on the MPD could be better used to respond to people in crisis or facing harm. Some of the callers have expressed a concern about a lack of a plan. I would say it's a complete waste of time to spend a year making a detailed plan for the future of a safety in our city and then face this uncertainty of the charter amendment being allowed to go through. This charter amendment, the charter is, in how it currently stands, is the roadblock to change that we must clear so we can create this new plan. If we change the charter now, we have plenty of time for the community engagement around this process with our elected city council members and our neighborhoods to make those detailed plans. I urge you not to sleep on this collective momentum we've been building in our neighborhoods. Do not pocket veto this amendment.
Thank you. The next speaker is Carol Becky.
Hear me, Barry?
Yes, I can.
Barry, this is Carol Becker.
Becker. They misspelled it.
Hey, yeah, they did. It's okay. I wanted to speak about why we have a city charter. We have a city charter commission because we don't want quick whims change. We don't want this just to be political decision making where people want to look good to other people. You guys have a role in this, and it's an important one. Second thing is, you guys know the charter. The charter already gives the city council and mayor broad authority to make change. The people that are saying we have to wait for the charter change to make change don't know the city charter. Third, we need time to build a plan. There is no plan. There's no plan. There's not been a public hearing. City council doesn't have a plan. If we don't have time to come together as a community, this is just going to be part of the city ramming something down the throat of the other part of the city that doesn't want it. We need to have time to bring public debate, even within the people that will be here tonight, have different visions and different ideas of what can happen. We need time before we have a vote. Thank you, Barry. Have a good day.
Thank you. The next speaker is Paul Snook.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Paul from Ward 12. The proposed amendment is drafted
irresponsible. Minneapolis is organized around the city's and state's rule of law. To keep civil, laws must be followed, enforced, and maintained. However, the City Council's proposed charter amendment, unbelievably, does not require that the city enforce laws. The amendment reads, quote, "The City Council may maintain a division of law enforcement services composed of licensed peace officers," unquote. It will be a dereliction of the City Council's duty to place this amendment on the ballot in November, since the amendment does not require that the city enforces laws with this proposed amendment. Laws without the backing and requirement of enforcement become null and void, resulting in a lawless city. This careless amendment should not be on the ballot this November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kevin Christensen.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Kevin Christensen. I am calling in tonight to voice my support for the charter. I think we have an incredible opportunity in front of us to re-examine how our city functions, and I believe that we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't allow ourselves the freedom to change the existing rules. I think Minnesota has an opportunity to become an example nationally for how to create a more just and safe system for its residents, and if we have a state to limit our options when considering what that system could look like. I've heard many people voice their concerns regarding how this new system would function, and I agree that we must be diligent and careful when creating it. However, this charter is simply to allow ourselves the opportunity to have those discussions without being constrained to the existing system. I think it is essential we give ourselves that opportunity and let the people vote. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Just for information, we've got about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to allow 5 more speakers on the list. The next speaker is Amanda Schlesinger.
Oh, I got lucky.
You hear me?
I got on. I got 5 more minutes left, and
Yeah.
I got on.
Is Amanda Schlesinger there?
Hi, this is Amanda Schlesinger.
Go ahead. Amanda, why don't you start over?
Hello?
Is this Amanda? Go ahead.
Yes, this is Amanda. Yes, this is Dr. Amanda Schlesinger. I'm an assistant professor of child psychiatry at the University of Minnesota. I live in Ward 8, and I support. From a mental health perspective, creating a more flexible public safety department is an easy yes. Our patients' families are often terrified of having to call 911 for help because they worry about police confrontation. Many people with mental illness panic when they see people in uniform. Officers are often kind to my patients, but frequently they have no idea what to do, nor should they. It is not right to ask police officers to do everything, and we must regain the power to budget for policing differently. When I hear opposition to putting this on the ballot, all I hear is fear of change, but fear has never driven progress. Commissioner Cohen, you said you have a legal and moral obligation to uphold the police force, but no, you have an obligation to look after our city's future. There is nothing to fear from modernizing police. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Laura Christensen.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Great. This is Laura Christensen. I was born and raised in Minneapolis, and I urge you to include the amendment question on the ballot as a first step toward creating a smarter police system capable of addressing the complex issues that contribute to violence and criminal behavior in Minneapolis. I think about abolish the police as a powerful statement of hope, based on a belief that safer communities can be created by addressing the failures of education, social services, public health, gun regulation, criminal justice, and economic development that are currently contributing to the crisis in policing. Please help us work to make this hope a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kenneth Lytle.
Hi, this is Kenneth Lytle.
Go ahead, please.
Of letting this amendment move on to the ballot this November. I was amazed City Council got it together to take action so quickly, and it's a necessary first step to achieve some form of public safety. No need for distraction or delay. I trust my fellow residents to learn about it and make a decision by November. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Tim Keene. Tim Keene. The next speaker is Seamus Johnston. Seamus Johnston.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
Go ahead.
This is Tim Keene.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm a lifetime resident. And this council has had 4 years to tackle issues of police reform. This council has been preoccupied with bike lanes and attending urbanism conferences rather than taking on the hard work of police reform. We're not going to solve these complex issues with slogans, cliches, and gimmicks. This council is simply kicking the can down the road for 4 months to have a referendum, and then it's just more delay. The people who want to speak must engage their city council members in reform. It's got to be a ground battle between the people and their elected officials. This charter amendment is nothing more than a smokescreen for delay and inaction. We need our council members to take on police reform seriously.
Thank you. And the next speaker is Seamus Johnston.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Seamus Johnston, Ward 9, Elliott Avenue. When I was 11 years old, police kicked in the front door of my house. I'm 31 years old, a software engineer, and when I see police officers in Minneapolis, I do not feel safe. I feel afraid. As far as I'm concerned, November 2020 is not rushed. It's 20 years overdue. Put the charter on the amendment. Put the charter amendment on the ballot as worded. A number of people I've heard say we need more input, and yes, we need the input of every registered voter in the city. And thank you all very sincerely for keeping your hearts and minds open for the last 2 hours.
Thank you. And unfortunately, we are out of time, so I'm going to call the public hearing to a close. I'm going to remind people that there are other ways of providing input, including emailing council comment at minneapolismin.gov. That's council comment, no spaces, at minneapolismn.gov. I want to thank everyone who participated in the hearing tonight and everyone who spoke or submitted comments. We appreciate your engagement. With that, we've concluded all the business to come before us tonight. So without objection, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and good night.